So, the Acarya, the Brahman and the Shilpi, that was born out of the book In the Association of Pure Devotees, which I've said previous was a book on the need for the association of living Maha-bhagavata Guru and the need to sit at their feet, hear and inquire. Ask them questions and they give you the immediate answer. So this Acarya, the Brahman and the Shilpi are 4 chapters from that book In the Association of Pure Devotees. The first chapter is a basic introduction on Samudrika, Shilpa Shastra, Sthapatya Veda, astrology, things like that. Very simple. It's very simplified.
So what does Samudrika mean?
Well, the Samudrika Shastra means, I was going to get to that, but
okay.
But the Samudrika means it's a Shastra whereby you could see the auspicious marks or signs on the body of a person. In other words, Maha-bhagavata has 32 symptoms on his body. As part of the Samudrika, you could see, if you're trained, you could see those signs, bodily features. And a lot of these ancient sciences are marginalised even in India now because they're going for the modern science. So these sciences, but they still exist, and there are still people that can see a Maha-bhagavata. They can see the symptoms. So the first chapter is a simplified version of what is Samudrika, what is Sthapatya Veda, what is Shilpa Shastra, how to make deities, the whole thing, all that. Very simple, but it just gives everyone an idea what those sciences are. Then the next 3 chapters are 3 persons that are not even in our Sampradaya, which is the Brahman Maha-bhagavata line. There are 3, one is the Acarya, hence the name of the book, the Acarya, the Brahman and the Shilpi. It's the Acarya from Sri Rangam, 1930 to 2012. His secretary and disciple, Sri Badrinarayan Ramanuja Das, who was a mystic and he was an astrologer and very trained. And Professor B.C. Mahanti, who was one of the foremost deity makers in India and Orissa. And they knew the sciences. They were trained men. They weren't just reading a few books and come up with some idea. They were trained. So, for instance, the Acarya from Sri Rangam, Sri Lakshman Ramanuja, Srila Acharya Dev, he joined Sri Rangam at the age of 9. He's a Naistika Brahmachari. And he was sent to one of their Sanskrit schools in Orissa, in Puri. And he was trained there. And he excelled in the Sanskrit language. They studied Sanskrit, philosophy, etc. And he excelled in the Sanskrit language. And by 18, he was teaching some of the younger students. And regularly he would go back and forth to Sri Rangam to see his spiritual master. And at the age of 21, he moved back to Sri Rangam. And it wasn't long after that he became the Acharya. And he was trained in the 4 Vedas, the Upanishads, Puranas, astrology, Samudrika, etc. And he could read you and he could read your mind and he knew things about you that only you knew. And he could tell you. And that was pretty interesting, to say the least.
Especially if you had something to hide.
Well, yeah, even if you don't. He was a real mystic, totally a mystic. He's a Naistika Brahmachari, which means he's already head and shoulders above everybody else. He's Sri Vaishnava, which means he follows the line of personalist. He's a personalist. So we stayed with him for 3 or 4 days. We went to South India at Sri Rangam. We stayed in his ashram. And he cooked every day and he served us out every day. It was very amazing. And there was only one prerequisite, and that is you had to wear Vaishnava tilak. If you had Mayapura tilak on, you couldn't eat. fair enough.
Sure.
Because Ramanuja, one of his main preaching points was defeating the Mayapura from when he was very young. So, So, yeah, as long as you were wearing Vaishnava tilak, you go into Sri Rangam with him, whole place hits the ground, hits the deck. Everyone pays dandavats. So you're a very powerful personality. So that's the Acarya of Sri Rangam. Then his disciple, the Brahman, hence the next title, the Brahman from Sri Rangam, was his disciple and secretary. He was actually born in Orissa. And he was, he'll tell you, trained in the 4 Vedas, trained in the Upanishads, trained in the 18 Puranas, trained in Sanskrit, was an astrologer, used Samudrika. As part of the Samudrika, they can read your palm and auras. Mm-hmm. It's all part of Samudrika. Very ancient science. There's so many ancient Vedic sciences. So, and he'll tell you that. And his Diksha Guru is Sri Ramanuja Lakshmanjia, Srila Karadeva. His Shiksha Guru is Srila Gour Govinda Swami Maharaj.
Mm.
Very interesting, isn't it?
Very interesting.
So, in 1980, he walked onto the Bhubaneswar land, which is just a construction site totally. And he said he saw at the front of the hut, veranda, if you could call it a veranda, it was pretty
rustic.
How can I put it? Not a very fabulous building, very rough. But my Guru Maharaj is the one who's Guru Maharaj, so was not into luxury. He was not into having a nice bed or a nice dessert. There was none of that. Anyway, so he walked on, he saw this sadhu, and he said before he saw the sadhu, he saw this effulgence, and then he saw the sadhu, and he started chanting on beads. And he was pretty taken by that, so he went up and paid obeisance and introduced himself. And then Guru Maharaj got up and introduced himself. He said, I'm Gour Govinda Swami, the lowly disciple of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada. And Badri said the relationship began straight away. And he said he was pretty taken by Guru Maharaj. But he said the first thing you can understand is very effulgent. The second thing he said, those sciences were running through his head and he's weighing Guru Maharaj up, he's measuring him. And he said, it looks like to me, this is a Maha-bhagavata. Looks like, he said, He said, this looks like Maha, this is not a conditioned soul. So he went down to South India, he went down to Sri Rangam, and he asked his Gurudev if he'd come and verify what he'd seen. Because this is a rare occasion, rare occurrence to meet a Maha-bhagavata. It's not an easy thing. So his Guru came up in 1991, all the way from Sri Rangam. It's a long way. And by train, got off the train on the rickety old rickshaw, and went all the way to the middle of nowhere, which was Bhubaneswar Temple. Came in 1991, he walked on the property and he walked up to the hut and he looked in the flower-wide door, because Guru Maharaj had a flower-wide door in his room. He looked in for like a few seconds, then stepped back and paid full dandavats on the concrete floor. Now, this is the Acarya of Sri Rangam. When he walks in Sri Rangam, everybody pays full dandavats. Some say he's got 20,000, some 50, some say he's got 100,000. Whatever it is, he doesn't need to go somewhere and verify is this my reality. He doesn't need to go, he doesn't need to do anything. But he took it upon himself because he said this is a very rare occurrence. Paid full dandavats, then he knocked, went in, sat with Guru Maharaj for 15 minutes, then he came out. And everyone was there, Jagadish was there, Gokul was there, Dinaband was there, so many people. And he said, 1, all the symptoms of a Siddha Purusha on his body. He measured him up. And I said, they're all there. 2, his self-effulgent, his body just shone. 3, he said, he's got all these birthmarks on his body, one here, one there, one there, one here. He said they all represent the different avatars of the Supreme Lord. Matsya, Kurma, Varaha, etc. Right. And he stayed for 3 weeks and heard Guru Maharaj preach about the glories of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. That 1991 was the first year Guru Maharaj inaugurated the Bhubaneswar Rath Yatra. That became the second biggest Rath Yatra in Orissa, or has become, next to the Puri one, of course.
Right.
And it was a big thing. And he stayed for 3 weeks, and he went on the Rath Yatra. And then he came up another 5 or 6 times to see Guru Maharaj. But he said, this is Maha-bhagavata. He has all the symptoms. This is Maha-bhagavata. It's very rare. He said, the chances of seeing this in this lifetime are very rare. Gour Govinda Swami is Maha-bhagavata. So then he came up a few other times. Stayed in the guest house. Jagapati Prabhu was the guest house manager and gave him a room, and his disciple came, Bhadri Narayan, and Jagapati Prabhu said the people non-stop coming to see the Acarya. It was non-stop. There was that many people coming to see him, you know. And he didn't like the Acarya, didn't like you paying dandavats to him. He didn't want anyone to pay their obeisance to him. He didn't want anything. Just come in, Hare Krishna, how are you? And whatever. He didn't want all that pomp and ceremony. Mm-hmm. He wasn't really into it. And I did it. I paid full dandavats to him. He just looked at me like, what's this, you know? And I said, you're the Acarya and I'm nothing. I got to pay dandavats. And you're a sannyasi. So I have to do that. Anyway, so he said, Siddha Purush, Maha-bhagavata, self-effulgent, the birthmarks on his body all represent the different avatars of the Lord. Right? And then I was in a phone call with his disciple, Bhadri Narayan Prabhu, just prior to the Acarya in 2012 leaving his body, and there was a discussion going on between myself, Bhadri Narayan, and the Acarya. He was in the last days. And one of the last things he said was, Gour Govinda Swami is Shakti Vaishnava. Shakti Vaishnava, it's come to the mission. It's come to the mission. Come to the mission. One of the last things he said. So I felt pretty honoured to actually hear that, you know. And so that's the Acarya for Sri Ranga. And his disciple had seen it, but he wanted the Guru to verify him. Right? The disciple sees it, he gets the Guru, please verify. This is real Guru-disciple relationship.
Yeah.
So, so that's all in this book. The Acarya, the Brahman, and the Shilpi. Then, so that's the Acarya, that's the Brahman. Then there's the Shilpi. Shilpi is a deity maker. And he was Professor B.C. Mahanti. He had studied at university for 6 years how to make deities. He had studied Shilpa Shastra and the Sthapatya Veda. He had studied all this. He knew the measurements. And he said there are 12 categories of conditioned souls. Size of the head or the face, the arms, the hands, the legs, the torso, everything. He knew all the maths. He knew the science. He knew the Shastra to back up all his statements. So when Guru Maharaj left this world in 1996, my godbrothers went to him and asked, would he make murtis? Which he said, no problem, because he was 69. And he said, that's not a problem. So they took pictures, because from the picture they can measure it up. They took pictures of Guru Maharaj's shoes, his clothes, everything. And this deity maker, he couldn't do it. And he was getting other deity makers to come in to assist them. It just couldn't be done. And he was thinking, you know, this is very strange. Why can't I do this? Then it came to his mind that this, and it's in the book, the whole story, This Gour Govinda Swami doesn't fit into the category of one of the 12 categories of a conditioned soul. He's outside that category, which means he must be Maha-bhagavata. Then he said he could make the deity. And then he began the work and he finished quite quickly. This had only happened twice in his life, 1966 and 1996. 1966, the disciples of one sadhu in Orissa, they brought the sadhu to, they wanted a deity made as their spiritual master. He couldn't do it. And they came for 2 weeks and did kirtan in his house for 2 weeks, and after 2 weeks, he figured it out. I thought, this person doesn't fit into that category of 12 conditioned soul. He said the same thing happened with Srila Gour Govinda Swami. But once he figured it out, then he made the deities. He could do it, and then he said, I'll make a deity of Gour Govinda Swami for myself, and I'll worship that deity and correct my, what's the word? Fallen mentality. He's very honest.
That's pretty nice.
So, that's this book. So we only printed 500 copies in Australia, which were distributed and they went everywhere. But then we printed it in India, soft-bound and hard-bound, and we printed over 5,000 copies for distribution, hard-bound and soft-bound. Mm-hmm. But basically, it describes the symptoms of a Maha-bhagavata, as explained in the Samudrika. That verse is quoted by Srila Krishna Swami in his Chaitanya Bhagavata, Chaitanya Charitamrita, and Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada gives a purport. And in his Sri Chaitanya Bhagavata, Srila Vrindavan Das Thakur quotes the same verse, and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur Goswami Prabhupada narrates. He gives a purport. It's and Srila A.C., it looks to me as if Srila A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada has used the exact same purport from that commentary of his own spiritual master in the Chaitanya Bhagavata. The 32 symptoms of a Maha-bhagavata, which is in here. But it was common knowledge. Every psychic, yogi, baba, astrologer, anyone that does mudrika, palmist, anyone, sadhus from different sampradayas, acharyas from different sampradayas, sadhus in our sampradaya, when they met Srila Gour Govinda Swami, they understood it was not a conditioned soul.
Well, when I met him, I certainly knew that. I didn't know exactly how to express what he was, but I knew that he wasn't a conditioned living entity.
Yeah, it hit you, didn't it? It really hit you hard.
He saved my life.
Mm. Oh, and a lot of others. So Guru Maharaj, it was amazing. When we first met him, he just shone. The symptom of a Sutta Bhakta. What's happening is, Rupa Goswami describes it in his Ujjvala Nilamani, that the heart of the sadhu is glowing with prema, and that prema starts to emit from every pore in his body. Chid, Dipa, Dipana, I think it's called. That's sneha. Second symptom of prema. Second level. And the whole body shines and it glows. And Guru Maharaj did this, he glowed. So, in Maha-bhagavata, he could change a lot of people's minds from fallen to following. Just by speaking. Very powerful. But every psychic, every mystic, the astrologer Tirthananda Das, who's from Orissa, who happened to be the uncle of Badri Narayan Das, who was from Sri Rangan, he did the Guru Maharaj's chant. He said, Vaikuntha man, there's another conditioned soul. And that's what the astrologer said on the day when he was, mother took him in Galaguri. He was very young, just a baby. Astrologer said the same thing. In 1971, up in Rishikesh, Haridwar, they said the same thing. All the way down the line, same thing. It's from this world, not that one. Not a conditioned soul. It is Maha-bhagavata. So as the Acharya from Sri Rangam said, it's very rare, and He even sent, in 1992, he sent a busload of sannyasis and brahmacharis to Bhubaneswar temple to meet Guru Maharaj. Because Guru Maharaj was in America, so they didn't meet it. It's very unfortunate. But anyway, we associated with them, and that senior sannyasi there, he gave class, and it was very fabulous class, very powerful class. But anyway, he was sending men to see Guru Maharaj because meet a Maha-bhagavata in this lifetime, very rare. And one is very fortunate. Of course, to commit an offence to that Maha-bhagavata, very serious. Just like you may know, they've demolished the samadhi of our Gurudev in Bhubaneswar, and they demolished the Bhajan Kuti of Srila Prabhupada, where he stayed for 17 days, which was a long time for Srila Prabhupada to stay anywhere. And it was still one of the few buildings ISKCON owned, and these people from the government demolished it all for whatever reason. So there'd be a big reaction for that. Big reaction. However, those that tried to stop the preaching mission of Srila Gour Govinda Swami, there'll be a greater reaction. They know who they are. There'll be a greater reaction for that. That's all the government people did is they destroyed the bricks and the mortar. Still, it's a big offence, but this they stopped the mission. And as the Acharya from Sri Rangam said, it's come with the mission. It's come Shakti Vaishnava, come with the mission.